Didn't you say you had something that you was gonna tell us on camera?
What was I talking about?
Is relationship wise.
Oh
Ain't no
man,
point of talking about it now.
trying to date a he's not a preacher's kid, but a minister
Mm.
in Atlanta. And one okay, so two things. One, it got awkward once he realized who my family was. And then went to my extended family. So I don't know if you know, I have a cousin that has a church out here in Austell.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so he's a pretty
Big
known,
deal.
yeah, in the area, last name Purvis. And so he so the guy, one day we were on the phone and he was just like, well, actually it started with because when we had talked about it, he really didn't know about Berean. But then he was at church one day and somebody had brought up Berean. And he was like, wait, I think this girl that I know, family, that's her family church. So
Right.
he called, so he calls me while he's talking to the person, like, what's the church? And I was like, Berean. He was like, oh my gosh, I'm at this other church and they're talking about your uncle and blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, oh, here we go. So whatever. And so
He done found out Barack Obama, my daddy.
I'm like, oh man, here we go. Because and it's funny because like we talked about on the podcast, because then it makes me feel like, and I don't know why, but then it makes me feel like, all right, now I gotta step back and kind of be on my best behavior. And so then he comes back like a couple of days later, like, oh, well, that means Purvis is your cousin. And I'm like, yep. And he goes to all his ties to my cousin and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't realize you were famous. I'm not. And he was just like, oh, no. He said, I didn't realize you were a celebrity.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not. He was like, well, you are here. And I'm like, I'm not. But then it goes to, I'm like, man, I really don't. Like, people ask me all the time, like in terms of, well, not all the time. I have the conversation with people sometimes about in terms of like being 34 and single and, tapping into that church network and why I don't like date. Because I don't want it to be tied to that. And so even with him, it felt like, and actually, and I have to give him credit because I actually feel like overall things didn't change because I still don't like him much because he's on the phone all the time during our dates. So which
Handling church business.
he has like his own nonprofit too. So he'll handle like his own nonprofit business or family stuff or, just a lot of things. And kind of, as we talked about on the podcast, like that was something with my dad when I was younger, that I always, something that me and my father had to get through in terms of him being on the phone. And so watching him, we went to the movies a week or so ago, and we get to the movies. Movie starts maybe about 7:15. We get there like 7:05. He goes, oh, we sit down. Now there's not too many people. It's actually at the beginning, it was only me and him in the theater. And only two other people joined us. And it was a small theater. But anywho, he goes, oh, I forgot I had a Zoom meeting or a Zoom call to get on. Right now?
Right.
You said that you were free after 5.
He
And
forgot.
you said that you wanted to hang out with me, and so
Right.
now we're at the movies, and granted, it's just the previews. Granted, there's no one else here, but this is our time, and you on a Zoom call, and he takes a Zoom call in the movie theater on speakerphone. So yeah, and
On speaker.
on speakerphone. And he was like, oh man, I really wish I had AirPods, my AirPods, so I can listen to it. And I don't even know if that was better or worse, because if he had AirPods, then really he would have been
He really
disconnected
tapped out,
from,
right?
yeah,
Right.
at least with speakerphone, was kind of still somewhat engaged. But it was just, yeah, I just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But like I said, I will give him credit. Well, some credit, because he did hit me with the, oh, you're a celebrity. But I don't feel like he changed much after that. I feel like it was more of me feeling like now I can't just be myself. Which is something I'm working through. But yeah, that's my dating in Atlanta story. See, I've told you I'm trying to get out there. I met him online. So I'm trying to get out there a little more, y'all.
But you did it. But you got with a church boy in a city who's deep into the Atlanta church scene,
right?
And you already know what that means for your family, like you know what I'm saying, like who like you got the Lee last name, like that's kind of.
I know
That's kind of a thing.
And I didn't know that, but I tried not to when we were talking. So right before we had talked a couple days before we went out, and right before we went out, he said, I was no, because we met up the first date. We met on a Sunday, and he was just like, I gotta, I'm going. We talking about time. He was like, I gotta go to church first, and then we can meet out in the afternoon. So I was like, well, what church do you go to? And he says, I serve at blah 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 blah. So he hit you with the I serve, right?
You know that terminology. You know what that means. You know what that means. He go to church.
Right. Not I attend, not I go to.
I serve.
And he made that real clear. So I was just like, well, in what capacity do you serve? And he was just like, oh, I'm just a minister, blah, 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 blah. And immediately I wanted to say, nope, stop, rewind, nope. But then I said, Lord, one of the things I ask for when I pray for my husband is someone that loves the Lord. So I don't say this deep, but I say someone who loves the Lord. I say, so let me not, disqualify him because of this. But yeah, so I don't know. We haven't really talked much since the movies last Monday when he was on the phone. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, I just want to say this before we start. I think it's more or less of him disqualifying you because you're the one who feels like you can now not be yourself because of repercussions because of how he may react to it or whatever case may be. So I think if he is going to be a problem in that way, I think you should just go ahead and just nip it in the bud so that you can just be with somebody who do love the Lord and be yourself and who don't look at you as a celebrity even if you are one.
I'm not one.
I'm just saying. No, I'm saying, but like even if you were Rihanna, it's the person look at you as the human as opposed to the celebrity. Because the fact that he is bringing that up and even reacting a certain type of way to me, it just kind of feels I don't know him personally, but it feels a little shaky. So.
You messed up, Rudy. Janessa's the Rihanna.
That's right.
I apologize. If you were the
Kelly Rowland.
You're right. The Kelly Rowland.
I can't even do Beyonce. I'll be Kelly Rowland.
There you go. All right. Boom shakalaka.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones podcast. We are preacher's kids. Kelly is drinking water hella loud.
I'll put myself on mute next time.
My God.
It was delicious, too.
My name is Rudy Wilson. I am a PK. Kelly Lee is a PK. Terry Weezy is a PK. And Janessa, it looks like an incarcerated PK right now with the white background, but hopefully she's okay.
It is a little mugshot.
No, she looks like she is in the cell, not even the mugshot. Like she is. They let me get my phone for an hour, guys. We gotta hurry up.
Locked up.
Jerry, how are you doing?
Well, I'm displaced for the week. My entire house on the interior is getting repainted. So I did a couple of days at my parents'.
That ain't no excuse to try to abandon the ghetto garden now. We need you out there.
No, I've been over there every day, checking on the house, checking on the garden.
Okay.
So, but I did a couple of days at my parents' house and I love them to pieces. But at this age, we can only visit for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, we live under the same roof. So one of my best friends, I'm gonna house sit for her for a few days. because she's going out of town. So I'm there. So this is, I guess, she's gonna laugh if I tell her that y'all called it the jail cell. Because still in her room, in her house.
It's also the angle, like where you got the camera at, like it looks.
I
like,
think it's just that plain manila background,
the black shirt, like
Yeah, I'm looking real rough because, like, how do you pack? Like, I don't know. What do you need? I need my whole house.
Right. That is hard.
So it's just like t-shirts and leggings that don't even go together. So
there you go. Story of my life.
There we go.
All right. Well, Kellie Lee, you're at home. How displaced are you still?
I'm good. I've been enjoying summer. I'm having a good time. I do want to tell you guys about Father's Day and wonder how your Father's Day was.
Okay.
I did I don't know if I talked about it because I did it last Wednesday. I did like a video montage for my father that they played in church on Sunday. Really beautiful. Yeah. And then somebody sung Dance with My Father. So I went to the pulpit and danced with my father.
Shucks.
Can we get the video?
Huh?
Where's the video? All churches got it.
Right. It's in the church service. And then he felt led to have other dads dance with their daughters.
Oh, wow.
So then he had other people come and dance, and so you can see him dancing in the front, and it was really, really nice. It was probably one of the most touching, beautiful moments that I had with my father. And even the response that I got from the church, like dads would come to me afterwards like, oh my gosh, that was just so beautiful. You had me in tears and I don't even cry. And, my daughter came and hugged me, and it was so nice to be able to dance with my daughter. And it was like I said, one of the most touching, beautiful moments ever. I'll send you guys. I do have the YouTube link of the video I made. I'll have to see how you in the whole church service, where the whole thing is. But no, it was really, really nice. Really nice.
I was gonna ask this. How would your father have reacted if somebody took it literal and a son danced with his father?
He was fine. So he actually said, he was just like, Dad, you can dance with your sons too. Like there's no, he even said it.
What is that
look like? How is that gay? A son dancing with your father?
I don't know, but that's what my dad would say.
He said that's what his dad would say. That's hilarious. This is a Preacher's Kids podcast, and we got two different dads saying two different
right, because my dad was like,
that is hilarious.
It's just not dads and daughters. You can dance with your dad too. Right. And they may not be slow dancing, hugging and close, but they may be side by side doing,
Okay,
whatever.
that both he and I are white, right?
What?
Do you really want to see us dance to up tempo songs?
It was dance
with my
father
slow
was a slow song, but
that's worse.
It's just a moment. But no, did he expect for dads and sons to be all hugged up or holding hands or whatever? Probably not. But is it a moment just to stand next to your son in the aisle and have a touching moment, to have a hug, to embrace? Is that gay?
I'll take a stern handshake and a kind word. That'd be fine.
Do you not hug your father?
We do, but it's weird. It's still weird.
So I'm gonna keep it G. If I was in that church service in that moment, the most I would have done is like went over to my dad, like give him like the handshake, hug type situation.
Yeah, there you go.
Say I love you, and then I'm walking my ass back to my seat.
And that's fine, right?
The handshake hug.
And especially because of that. So now if it's a fast tempo song where we can both be, line dancing or something together, okay, that's one thing. But I know the song Dance with My Father Again. Okay, you know what I'm saying? That is definitely hand here, hip, you know what I'm saying? Like that is this
First
type
of all,
that's this type of dancing. You feel me?
The song, okay.
Again, we're white, so we'll maybe do the electric slide or something.
It ain't got to do it with rhythm at this point. I'm talking about the style of dance.
But it's right. So
I'm not dancing with my dad like this.
And it may have just been
who leads
the intimate moment that it is okay for a father and son to have that type of moment where you embrace, where like I said, you say I love you. Right. Now, you like I said, he don't expect you to ballroom dance.
But that's what I was asking when I said a band of.
Oh no, not ballroom dance.
I'm saying like, what you think he would have did? Like
if somebody was ballroom dancing, the son and the dad.
He'd be like, Kelly, I'm sorry, baby. Cut the music. Cut it off. Everybody sit down. We need to get to the word, okay? Y'all got two coming up.
A father and a son. There was so I can tell you what it looked like. In the video, I saw it today. There was like a family. It was like the mother, the daughter, the father, and the son, and they were like all like in a huddle and kind of just moving back and forth like this. Is that appropriate?
So well, yeah, that's like a huddle.
That's the whole right.
That's like a huddle in football. We can just say, it's like a huddle. There you
go. so that was what it really looked like, you know. And when he called for sons came and like joined the group, you know, and it was like a huddle.
Right. No, I get that. I'm not saying that even if they would have stood up there and I'm not saying that any of that is wrong. That's what I'm saying. Dancing with your father is okay. I'm just saying, but not this one. What I'm saying. I'm not doing this with my dad.
You're not ballroom dancing,
right? You feel what I'm saying? Like, but I said, me and my dad, we was doing some little whatever kid and play, you know, cha-cha slide, whatever. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Even if we was, you know, shoulder to shoulder, arm, you know what I'm saying? Like his head right here. This, you know, we doing this thing right here.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's like a father son.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm not shaming daddies and sons showing affection. I feel like it's 100% okay. All I'm saying is, me and my daddy ain't doing this.
Understood.
I'm from a different school. It's not got anything to do with beliefs or being white or any of that. It's just older school. There was not a lot of you know, what you would call physical affection between fathers and sons in my day. There just wasn't. You know,
it wasn't.
You wanted a hug, you went to your mom. All right. You want life wisdom, you go to your dad.
You would have thought Terry was born in the 30s. You're not that much older than us, Terry.
The 80s is about the same. It might as well have been.
We all 80 babies. We get it.
Yeah. Lord.
All right. Well, anyway, Terry, how are you? This has been a long intro.
Well, we can shorten my part then. I'm fine. That's
no, don't shorten it at all. I was the one, you know, dragging it.
Nothing. Just working, did a show last night. Had to scream at some hot girls.
I don't know. You said hot or high?
Hot, probably high too.
Hot as far as their looks or as far as how they were acting?
Both. Because I don't know if you've had the same experience, but to me, the worst hecklers are like a 24-year-old, 25-year-old hot girl that's been drinking. They're the worst because they're never used to, they've never had anybody say no to them or talk real with them, you know, because they all want to bang them. So, but I was not on board with that. So I had to take control of that situation.
Well, I don't really deal with hecklers because I'd be already talking to them, so they just kind of
right. But I have a hard and firm rule. I don't really do crowd work. I can do crowd work, but I don't talk to anybody that doesn't talk to me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And now, if you start it, I'll finish it. But
I'm with. I feel it. Other
than that, I just want to do my material and get out of there. But I don't know.
I ain't mad at you.
That was an interesting one. Oh, but I did because I probably berated them for about 5 minutes because it was a 15-minute set. So by the time they really started up, like I was going back and forth from one because they weren't even together. It was just it was like somebody blew the whole the ho horn and they just came.
Jesus,
like it was crazy. But yeah, by the end of it, the audience was completely on my side, and I ended up getting an applause break as I left because I just left it on a real stinger.
Gotcha. All right.
It was fun.
All right. Shout out to the whole horn blower out there. Did I ask? Is it on me? Did we ask everybody already? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
y'all know me. Still the same OG. All right. Let's get it popping. Terry, it's on you again.
Altar calls, are they a good idea? And we're citing scripture again this week.
Let's read it.
Okay. Sorry.
We gonna say we citing scripture, don't cite it.
I was waiting for it.
It's Matthew 6:6, which basically says when
No. Just read it. Please just read it. Please just read it.
All right. Good Lord, I got it right here.
It's literally one verse.
When it basically says.
Yes, I know, but we gotta very strict on this. No room for interpretations. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. And I think basically, I think basically that maybe back when they were writing this, they might have had the same problem in the temples then as a lot of churches have now, where it's kind of like a virtue signal. It's like, oh, look what I'm doing. Look how in the spirit I am. Look at, you know what I mean? Because there was definitely a lot of that when I was growing up. A lot of like showy praise that you kind of just had a feeling was mainly, look at me, more than, praising God.
Is it more about the praising God, or is it more about your prayer life when it comes down to that particular scripture? Like, is it more about you just interacting with God in any type of way, like reading the Bible in public, or praising God in public, or prayer in public, or is it specific to prayer? When you pray, this is what you should do.
Well, I mean, it's pretty, it's being pretty specific here. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of room for interpretation. It's pray in secret, That's okay. There are some versions that even put it that way.
So what I'm saying is, so then why can't people praise in private? I guess is what I'm saying. Because you were just saying that you were just talking about people who were, who were praising in private and saying, and look at me worship and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, so why is that not okay for them to do that?
Because I would just say it's tainting it. I mean, it specifically says if you pray in private, he will reward you.
But I'm saying that's prayer. Prayer and praise is two different things. So what I'm saying is,
that's why we said altar calls, because altar calls aren't about praise; they're about prayer.
Yeah, we can get to, but we can even get to the altar call in a second. But I'm talking about, but with praise and prayer, like you just said that people who are praising in public is just as wrong as people who are praying in public. And what I'm saying is, if the scripture is specific to prayer, then is praise actually wrong to do in public? Is what I'm saying.
No, I wouldn't say praise would be wrong to do in public.
Gotcha.
There's different verses that talk about that, but
okay,
we're mainly talking about altar calls. Praying specifically in the middle of the sanctuary, right on the stage.
Gotcha.
And just to add a little more context, let's go to 6:7, which is the next verse. And when you do pray, do not keep babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words.
So when I read it before you sent it, I saw it. I mean, I definitely saw the point of not praising in public just for the attention, just for people to look at you. Definitely with verse 7, in terms of speaking a lot. And I think we say this a lot to newer Christians who talk about, how do I pray? How do I start prayer? And it doesn't have to be this complex, long, drawn out soliloquy to the Lord. Like, it can definitely be just, a few words, and tell him what's on your heart. I felt like the purpose of it was not that altar calls are bad per se, but the way in which people are using them. So kind of like what I talked about was that last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the pastors like kind of pushing you, and like I went up the altar call, and like when you're doing all of that extra stuff that's more about you than it is about the Lord, then I definitely feel like that's what the Lord is talking about, you know, that's not okay.
Because then it kind of feels like a show.
Right. Agreed.
All right. Well, to that point, let's go to the previous verse. Let's go to Matthew 6:5, which is, and when you do pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love standing in the synagogues to pray and standing on the street corners to be seen by men. Truly, I tell you, they already have their full reward.
Read it again. I'm sorry.
Okay. And when you do pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by men. Truly, I tell you, they already have their full reward.
Gotcha. I'm sorry.
Meaning, you don't need me to answer your prayer. Meaning, God's point of view, like, you don't need me to answer your prayer because your prayer was to get attention through this, and you've already done that. You know.
So this is what I was going to say is for going back to the whole altar call. So for me personally, I wasn't necessarily introduced to altar calls for like prayer specifically or even prayer dominant. Like in the church that I grew up in the beginning, Full Gospel Baptist Church, they like altar calls was pretty much like for salvation type situation. You know what I'm saying? And though there's a prayer involved in it, but I'm saying it wasn't like coming up for prayer, like come pray for me and my life or my sickness or my whatever. Like it was more like I don't even know if I've ever seen them necessarily pray that type of prayer as far as on like a regular altar call every Sunday. Like it was always like you come in because you want to be saved, church home, or you backslid and you want to rededicate your life. Like those were altar. That's how altar calls were introduced to me. And so of course throughout my life I've seen, you know, more even just on the prayer side, especially at a smaller church where you know all the members, you already know everybody's saved, so they're not really offering Christ to, you know, them. It's just more or less a prayer thing. So I do want to point that out, that, you know, I guess altar calls, I guess, have their levels, because the prayer thing wasn't even a thing for me. But even when it comes down to the prayer, or even anything, I think it always comes down to what we always say as far as, you know, it coming from your heart. Like if you're in the middle of Walmart and all of a sudden like a stranger needs you to pray for them, I don't think if you hit it real quick and went on about your business, I don't think that's necessarily putting on a show. You know what I'm saying? Like you had to like maybe act in the moment, act in the spirit type thing. But if you like, yo, I'm finna, you know, show everybody I'm anointed, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make this little, you know, this dude in the wheelchair stand up. Hey, everybody in Walmart, you know what I'm saying? Pay attention, you know what I'm saying? And then you start, you know what I'm saying, hitting the with or whatever like that. And then all of a sudden now you're now doing it because you have a motive. You feel what I'm saying? So the closet thing, you know, like hiding yourself, I think it's more of a internal thing than external, because if you're humble with your prayer and with your, even just say your service to God, you know, you're not doing it for the accolades anyways, and you'll much rather nobody see you, you know, give this family money for their rent, or, you know what I'm saying, give this person, you know, money to fix their car. Like you would much rather that not be seen in the first place, because you don't want people to know that, you know, like that's, you know, you out here just, you know, saving the world. Like you just doing it when you see the need be. You're not looking for credit. So I think that's just a internal thing is what I'm saying, more than it is, hey, if you want me to pray for you, let's get out of the middle of the clothes section at Walmart. Let's go into the dressing room. You know what I'm saying? Or that'd be kind of freaky, but you know what I'm trying to say. Go to the bathroom, whatever, and you know, and pray. Go ahead.
This isn't just a one-off either. There's many references to this very thing. 2 Kings. So he went in, closed the door behind the two of them, and prayed to the Lord in private. There's also even Jesus himself in Matthew 26. Hang on. Even Jesus himself in Matthew 26:36 reiterated that he didn't even pray in front of his own disciples. He told them, "You sit here. I'm going over there to pray."
Right, but I don't know if that. Sorry, Kelly, real quick. I don't know if that negates altar calls, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, because an altar call, even if I'm just preach a sermon and there's people visiting the church and they feel led for me to pray for them, you know what I'm saying? Like, do I have to make everybody who wants prayer wait? You know, because at some point, somebody's going to know you're getting prayed for. The people you roll with, the people who waiting for you, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So if I bring you to the altar, we cover these things in service. Like, this is a part of the service we provide. This isn't like a show. This isn't the part okay, now everybody turn on your Facebook Live and now let's do the altar call.
Right,
like,
but should it be?
I'm saying I don't think altar call is wrong if you're, because once again, it's about hiding yourself spiritually and on the inside. It's not just about you trying to not let nobody ever see you pray for somebody. Like, even if you bless the food at the table, like, you don't have to be like, all right, y'all, everybody walk away while I pray, and then y'all come back after I bless the food. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
blessings. That's different.
You're still praying. It doesn't matter. Like, you're still praying. I'm saying it's not about doing it where you're absolutely incognito, but it's more about not putting on the show than it is if people happen to be around when you pray, is what I'm trying to say.
Y'all, real quick, my computer's about to die and I don't have my charger. I thought I had the right one and I don't. So I can try to get on my phone, but I wanted to say real quick, I agree with what y'all are saying regarding I don't think it's not about the altar call, because when I did my research, I'm going to bring another scripture in it. It's the showmanship. Are you doing this for show? Are you doing this for God? And it's just using that, because in James 5.
Oh, she gone.
Oh, man.
I'll look up James 5.
James 5. Right.
We're gonna read the whole thing.
I don't even have a verse. We're gonna have to read the whole chapter.
Not James 5.
Well, but to the point, the Bible speaks many times about doing things in secret. Matthew 6:4 is the same thing. It says, if you're going to give, do it secretly. Yeah. If you're giving offering, if you're giving tithes, do it secretly. You don't do it to where other people can see, because then it's corruptible at that point. But to the point of altar calls, I think.
Can you get Janessa also? She won't be just here on looking. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. I just didn't want my girl frozen.
That's like when you get frozen. And
right. Like, can you take
it? But I think altar calls are actually detrimental to what a church is trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish. Because I feel like a lot of people that might really need that personal touch, they don't want to go up there in front of everyone. There's a lot of people with like social anxiety and they don't want to be in the spotlight. Hey, Rudy, every time somebody, I'm a comedian. How do you do that? How do you get up in front of everybody like that? And even in a lot of churches, even in some of my dad's own services, I remember that pastors would specifically call out, if we have any new visitors, or if there's anybody here for the first time, come on down here. You know what I mean? And now it's like oh, she says she backstage now. Now it's almost like it's almost like an obligation, Right. And it's I don't want to go up there in front of all these strangers I've never met. You know what I mean? And
yeah, and I do feel that. Kellie, I'm sorry, you just been trying to.
No,
talk.
go ahead. I don't remember the month.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say I do feel that point is in reference to. I do think there should be both options available because of that. Because, like, to your point, yes, like new people may not be, have enough courage to walk up, especially even with the whole, like, even with me growing up, and like I said, altar calls is more about salvation. If you know what I'm saying, you may not have enough courage to walk up in front of everybody. It's not that you don't want to get saved, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, man, it's especially at a church the size of New Beginning, where the sanctuary holding probably 1,500, 2,000 people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's worse the other way. Because I remember one time when I was a teenager, my father was doing this little church, and there's only about 40 people there, and he did an altar call at the end, and everybody went up except for me and my sister.
Well, no, but
now we're sitting in a sanctuary alone.
Right.
Everybody else is up there.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is, I'm speaking to the fact of people having the anxiety not wanting to go up there because there's so many people who could be watching them walk up there, and you know what I'm saying. Like, and you can have it from the aspect of an example Kellie gave when she was saying she went up to the altar and she was crying, and then now people who know her to be such and such daughter, whatever, is looking at her saying like, oh, she must be, struggling in her life and she must be going through whatever just because she having a moment with God, but they thinking it's something completely different. So you got that aspect, but then you do also have, I'm brand new to this church. I ain't never even been to church like that. I felt this message. I want to get saved, but I do not be up in front of people like that. I'm not finna get up and walk in front of all these people. So that person does possibly miss the opportunity, you know what I'm saying, to do that. So I have seen some pastors and some preachers allow people to come up, but then they also say, if there's anybody out there who didn't have the courage, like pray this prayer as well if you want to be saved.
Right.
I have seen that. But to your point, Terry, because of that fear side of it, I do think churches should at least offer both, or the pastor should be at least aware enough to say, you know what, there may be more people who wanted to come but are just too scared. So if you're still out there, you can get saved from your seat. It's not about being here at the altar, you know what I'm saying? But this was just more or less so that I can identify you and whatever the case may be.
Well, I think it's especially bad if you want to guarantee that a new visitor won't become a regular member, call them out in the first day. Like
right. Yeah, even the visitor thing. Yeah, like visitor stand or whatever it is. I mean, I know they feel like
call them out in the first day.
Go ahead, Kellie.
That's bad. Nobody likes that. It's like having the waiter sing happy birthday to you. We all do it at some point, but nobody likes it.
I actually like that. But go ahead.
I like that intention. But I have a couple of thoughts. One thing I thought about was, of course, like I said, with the anxiety and not wanting to go out in front of everybody. Churches should have and I know a lot of times they'll say like, call the church if you need prayer, email the church if you need prayer, and you have those options, but I don't know how much people really use that. But I know with COVID, and then just with the times, there's a lot of like text to give options. Like you can just text your tithes. I wish there was an option where you can text and and get the prayer from the church.
Get a Venmo account. There you go. You're done.
You said email?
I said get a Venmo account or a Cash App or something.
But I'm saying not for money, I'm talking about for prayer. So the same way they do it because they already do it because I have my tithes connected to, I think, my PayPal or something like that, and I can take something to give, and it's, text how much I want to give, and it goes through. But I'm saying I wish they had it for prayer for those ones that in the sanctuary, when you're saying, hey, come up to the altar, or hey, takes 1 to this number, or takes 2 to this number for salvation, it takes 3. So you're not missing those people who probably won't call or think about it outside of church, because I didn't get the opportunity to go for salvation or prayer or whatever, because I backslid, which is a rededication, whatever.
Backslid.
Can I? My dad always taught me you should never highlight a problem unless you've got a solution. So, he's like, don't complain unless you got something to add. Could I throw out an alternative? How about instead of doing the altar call, so it's, everybody, and then you get all the people that just like the attention and, stuff like that. Instead of like that, how about just at the end of the service, like, if anybody needs some prayer, or if anybody needs a blessing, or if anybody needs, special attention or a little extra, see me after the service. Give an hour of your time after the service and handle them one-on-one. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the real kind of message here, because Jesus didn't always say pray alone. One of those verses I gave you was him going into someone else's room with them, closing the door and praying together. But just remember that verse, this Matthew 6:6, those are red letters. That's God speaking directly through Christ to you.
Okay, can I go back to what I was saying? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, James 5.
Huh?
James 5.
Yeah, it says James 5:14 through 16. If anyone among you is sick, let them call the elders of the church to pray over them and anoint them with oil in the name of the Lord. And the person offered in faith will make the person sick well. The Lord will raise them up. If they have sinned, they will be forgiven. Therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of the righteous person is powerful and effective. So when I read that, it's not necessarily telling me not to pray altar prayer. It's telling you to pray for other people. But I think the context of what your scripture is saying, and when I looked it up, is specifically talking to, how you approach your sincerity to God. Are you being humble, or is it show? It's not necessarily the act of praying itself. You can pray in public, you can pray in private, you can pray silently, you can pray aloud. Like, the Bible actually says, and I can go look at it, pray nonstop. Like the Bible literally says that, and I will pull it up because I am a scripture stickler. So I did want to offer that nugget.
Jesus says very specifically in verse 5 that if you pray standing in a synagogue, or if you pray standing on a street corner, you're a hypocrite.
Right, but what
clearly says that.
Right, but what
she's saying, I think the difference between what Janessa's saying with Kings 5 and this is
James 5. Jesus.
I'm sorry, James 5. In James 5, you're praying for others. In an altar call, you're praying for yourself.
That's not true.
That's what I'm saying. But
my church has altar call every Sunday where you come up. Like a minister will stand at the pulpit. If you want prayer, you go up, and they're praying for you.
Right.
It's not praying for the pastor. The minister's not praying for himself during church. He's praying for the members of the congregation.
And most churches, even like with the church that I grew up in that had mostly for salvation, like that you have a prayer or a situation at the altar, but then those people go with another group of ministers or whatever who do the individual prayer, whatever the case may be. So like there's systems that's created for that, at least in some church. I can't speak for all ministries, but that's for, and even to the point of even going to the back, I can be one-on-one with somebody in a room and still not be humble. You know what I'm saying? I can be, it could be me and I'm praying for two people, or it's just a small group of us, and even if we're in a private setting, not in front of the whole church, I can still do something equivalent to praying in the synagogue, you know what I'm saying? Like, or on the street corner, because it's more about the approach than it is the place. Because once again, I'm pretty sure if God, saw you praying for somebody who, like, just you seen somebody, whatever, having a seizure on the side of the road, choking, whatever, you didn't know what to do, and you just start praying for them, I'm pretty sure God wouldn't be like, oh, so you couldn't drag them to the back alley, you know what I'm saying, to pray? Like, you feel what I'm saying?
Or you could give them the Heimlich, and, and just cut through all that.
Right. But I'm saying, but just something that, like, if you don't know what to do and you pray instead, I don't think it's punishment for that act, just because it happened to happen in the middle of Times Square or whatever the case may be. But you know what I'm saying? But if you took yourself into the middle of Times Square to then, start saying like, okay, watch how I do X, Y, B, Z, I think that's more or less doing what the hypocrites do.
Well, I mean, between all these, I think we can all agree that this is basically just saying, if you're doing this for attention, you're a hypocrite, you're acting like a pagan. But it's like Janessa said, with sincerity, if you're being sincere, then it doesn't necessarily matter in a physical location. But also, like I said, it can also make some people feel put out. It can be a turnoff to a lot of people, because then it's almost, I remember thinking and having thoughts during altar calls of like, should I not? Should I go up there? Everybody else is going up there. And then sometimes, especially when I was a teenager, I wouldn't go, like, I'd be like, I ain't going up there. And then like a cute girl or something that I liked would go up there, and I'd be like, all right, I guess I go. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it leaves a door open specifically for, people that are doing it for the wrong reasons, myself included. When like I said, it was a cute girl up there, or doing it for attention, or just like I just think it leaves that door open. It's given a platform for the wrong reasons. Not in every case, obviously.
But I don't think that's enough to not have altar calls. I think one of the biggest issues I've had with an altar call, especially I remember that when Rudy was talking about some of the systems in place that we have at church in terms of, you may come up to the front and then they take you to the back room. So I was, say that again, Janessa?
No, nothing.
Oh, okay. I was dating a guy who had a lot of issues, and we went to church, and and spirit fell upon him, and he's crying, whatever, and so we go up to altar call for prayer. So he gets the prayer, we go in the back, they pray or whatever, and the minister was like, I'm gonna give you a call tomorrow to check up on you. I want to get you involved with the men's group and the men's ministry here, all of this stuff. And then none of that ever happened. And I think that was more of my issue, because if you're using altar call as a place for people to get help, people to get prayer, people to get connected to the church, and then you make these false or these empty promises, I do have an issue with that. And I don't know, like I said, and it is really not the attention seeking piece, but it is the emptiness in what does this really mean, because we know that you can go to altar call and have this heavy burden and and cry and weep and have prayer, and you may feel better after that, but a lot of times the problems that you're dealing with that made you want to go in the first place don't end after the 10-minute altar call, the 20-minute conversation that we had afterwards. So my thing is, then what is the church's responsibility afterwards to follow up with these people who have altar calls? I know one of the reasons why, and I admit, I can agree that having first-time visitors stand can be a bit intimidating.
Right.
But I know at one point, I don't know if my father still does it, but I remember at one point he would call every visitor within that week. So he would collect all of the cards that they would get and they would have to fill out, and he would call and thank them
That's
for coming.
much better.
Yeah. And he, when he would do that, so it served a purpose. My thing is, like you said, just don't put on a show for the purpose of putting on a show, or don't say things or do things in the church because it sounds good, is what you're supposed to do. But where is the follow through, and what responsibility does the church have after you've embarrassed me by making me stand up, or after I felt so led to come to the front and come for prayer, and knowing that, after this 2 minutes, sometimes it's just 2 minutes, lay your hands, pray, and you sit back down, then where do we go from there? I think is my problem. And that, like I said, that was a very disappointing situation for me, because I would ask the guy that I'm dating every day, like, did you hear from the guy? Did you hear from the guy? I called to the church or emailed and said, hey, he said, because he really needed help. And he was in this space where, men sometimes can be a little funny about getting help, but he was in this space where he was open and ready to receive help, and someone at the church made it seem like, hey, I've made this connection with you, I'm going to follow through, and he didn't. To me, then don't do it at all.
Right.
You're not,
well,
if it was just for the moment.
For sure.
But
for sure.
By having these things, because let's say you're a person that's just naturally inclined to be that attention seeker. You know what I mean? Maybe you're that person that is having these things, having these platforms available, is that being a stumbling block to their progression? You know what I mean? Because it's like, I don't know. What's a good example? I don't know. Just by providing that thing where now it's a challenge for them. Well, I don't really need anything this week, but subconsciously, obviously, they're like, I don't really need anything, but everybody's watching, and I'd like to get some attention, and here's my opportunity.
Right.
Is that being a stumbling block?
But I mean, you can say that about anything in life, though. Like you know what I'm saying? Like people, you have alcohol, but then people abuse it. You know what I'm saying? You have, you have, food, but people overeat it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you can't get rid of it just because somebody, can overdo it or use it.
But if there's an alcoholic, you don't give them a nice bottle of wine as a gift.
But I'm saying, but they still sell alcohol. They still, you know what I'm saying? Like it's
you
still,
don't have to give it to them.
It's still, but I'm saying, just because somebody has the capability of overdoing, you can overdo anything, is the point that I'm making. Like, you can oversleep. That don't mean you should take your bed out the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, people do, you can overdo anything. So just because you can overdo it doesn't mean it's the problem. It's just more or less you have a problem, maybe an addictive personality or whatever case may be. But I don't see altar calls being like, you know, the thorn in the church's side that's like, you know, holding it down or whatever. Like I think
I'm
with
not saying it like that.
No, I get you, but what I'm saying, I don't think church in general, I think church in general as a totality has the leeway, if you will, to be perverted. You know what I'm saying? Benny Hinn with the jacket, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. Somebody else do, you know, like any of these things can be any of these things can be wrong, any of these things can be, you know, unpure. But that doesn't mean that all the ones that are the pastors who are calling all the, you know, the guests, the pastors who are, you know, working a 9 to 5, the pastors who are preaching the word of God, the pastors who are, you know what I'm saying, praying individual, whatever, like the pastors who are doing the right thing, that don't mean they should stop just because, you know what I'm saying, it's some other people doing the wrong thing with what's supposed to be done right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but look, everybody knows it's wrong to be an alcoholic. Everybody knows if they, you know, you shouldn't be a drug addict. But the weird thing with it, people with that attention-seeking behavior, a lot of the times they don't even realize it, or they won't admit it to themselves that that's the kind of person they are.
Yeah, but they're gonna do that in anywhere they go. If they go to the grocery store, they go to the movies, they go to the club,
right.
they're gonna always seek attention. So that's just, you know, that's not a altar call thing though. That's just the person.
Right. I'm just saying, is that a stumbling block for that person that maybe, you know,
any church in general, letting them lead a song, letting them preach, let them play the drums, direct the choir, usher. They can take any opportunity of, you know, as a stumbling block. If they want to seek attention, they can create attention. They can start a fight with somebody. You know what I'm saying? Argue with somebody, start beef. Like if somebody wants,
they could slap Chris Rock on the Oscars.
Right. If somebody wants attention, they don't have to. They don't need you to have an altar call for them to get attention. You know what I'm saying? Like they can get attention in many different ways.
And something else I would want to also add is, you know, we talk about it all the time, how you can kill somebody and still go to heaven, because it's not about necessarily the action, it's about the heart.
Right.
So I really don't think God is intentionally getting caught up in altar call. That's not really the focus. It's, again, the heart check. What are you doing? Is you doing this for me, or are you doing this for everybody else? Because we all should have an audience of one, which is God.
That's true. Was that a poetry snap, or that was like a get it girl?
Come on, I like the audience of one. That should be God. I like that.
Audience of one.
Yeah,
that's what my dad says. He gets up there and preaches every day for one person. Right. God, he don't care if you don't like it, your feelings hurt, you feel like he should have, you know, did it there. That's not who he's concerned about.
That's real.
What did God tell him? If he's preaching what God told him, he's good.
That's real. I ain't mad at it, and I'm for altar calls. I vote yes for altar calls. I think altar.
It was not a yes or no. This isn't a pass fail, man.
Proposition.
Calls or nah. Yes.
Proposition. Psalms 91.
You don't have to be so black and white. The world is gray. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going for the black on this one. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Yeah. This is never trying to be right or wrong. This is a discussion to just kind of flesh out ideas and thoughts. Get philosophical with it.
So that's what the losers always say. No, I'm just kidding. All right. I'm kidding. All right. Church announcements.
All right. No. So you can find us on Instagram.
She's excited because we're ending early.
At the worst one, right?
She's like, I thought we were going to go a whole other 5 minutes. Lord have mercy.
I've been telling Rudy. Background. I've been telling for our 500,260 followers. I don't know.
There you go. Okay.
I think we got a little more on that one. I want us to keep it under the hour, so we're under an hour. So at the worst ones, PK.
Way under, because we actually started. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, and I talked for 7 minutes about my dating life, and then talked another 5 minutes about Father's Day. So I did most of the talking today. At the worst ones, PK. I may have a clip of talking about dating or my Father's Day or something all this talking I did today for next week.
Oh my
So
gosh.
mine is there. Also, if you want to hear the whole episode, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, type in the Worst Ones podcast and you will find us. When you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,500,005 followers. I think that's what we really are.
That's what we really are.
I over exaggerated last time.
Gotcha.
That's what we really are.
Gotcha.
We love you very much. We thank you for your support. To find my individual page, it is private, but is at Princess Kells 51.
Amen.
You can find me at Melanated Brews. We have fun over there when I feel like having fun. And my personal page is JRihanna_. And yeah, I did. My friend was able. She had a charger, so I didn't have to go all the way back to my house, which is great.
Amen.
Because I really didn't want to go.
Shout out to the friend with the charger.
Right, for that audience of one, we needed that good word at the end. We needed Janessa to come on in and close us out. She always closes out with a good word.
Look,
so thank you, friend, for the charger.
I try to do my part.
That should rename the topic for the day: audience of one.
Audience of one.
That was a word.
Terry Wayne Comedy, all social media networks.
TikTok.
Yeah, there's actually I did put 2 videos on TikTok from New York.
Okay.
There you go.
We'll have to look it up.
I do another podcast. It's once a month, the last Monday of every month, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Zoom. If you want to be there live, go to Zoom, type in 815-499-0955. And other than that, you can find all the social medias or watch the link, the full episodes on YouTube at the podcast official page. That's it. That's all. We preach as kids, and we out.
Top of the world.